Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Leadership Matters with Dr. Sharon. We are joined by my special guest for tonight. He is Lloyd Knight. I am so excited to have him. He began his career as a student teacher and has worked at nearly every level, including classroom teacher, curriculum resource teacher, and assistant principal. In his time at Chicago International Charter School, Lloyd Bond, they achieved breakthrough growth in reading and math through the implementation of Daily 5 Math, Daily 3, and a rigorous independent reading program. In 2 years, the school went from the closed list to the fourth best charter elementary school in the city of Chicago, according to Chicago Magazine. As the lead principal of North Carolina for Charter Schools USA, Mr. Lloyd spearheaded the expansion of 5 new buildings and the largest portfolio of charter schools in the state of North Carolina. Mr. Knight is a trained peacekeeper. He holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in elementary education from Shaw University in North Carolina. He earned his master's degree in educational leadership from DePaul University in Chicago. And currently he is the principal of Thomas Carr Howe Community High School. Welcome, Mr. Knight.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here with you, Dr. Sharon. I'm a huge fan of your show.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoy hearing about all the different aspects of leadership that you've discussed. And we right now are in the midst of an amazing, I think, historic turnaround over at Thomas Carr Howe Community High School, in which we are going to use all of my experience and all the resources possible to make our high school a wonderful place to be. So I'm just excited to share that information and talk to you more about it today.
That is awesome. And I tell you, you really have a rich history in education. And I love the fact that you've really been all over the map, it seems like. You did a stint in North Carolina, you were in Chicago, now you're in Indianapolis. That must be awesome. And so I really want to start with your work with charter schools. I myself have been a charter school principal. I've been in the regular comprehensive school as well. Tell me about your work with the whole North Carolina expansion as the lead principal of that.
So first, I'd like to begin by just talking a little bit about Charter School USA overall. We're the largest charter school authorizer in the entire country with over 86 schools in states in Florida, Louisiana, North Carolina, Georgia, Indianapolis, and in the Chicago area. During my time in North Carolina, I came down to become lead principal because we were expanding some of our schools that were already had established boards at the time. So we went from, at the time, 3 schools to 6 schools with 8 buildings. So 2 of our campuses, they actually expanded beyond just elementary school. They went into high school as well. So most charter providers in North Carolina do not have a portfolio that size. Most are mom and pop shops in which, the local community is establishing their own charter school. But with Charter School USA, we came in to, help provide quality education to students all throughout the state.
That is really fascinating. And so not only have you spent time in charter school, but right now you're in a comprehensive high school. And I know that you probably have faced your share of challenges coming through because you're actually in a turnaround high school, correct?
Yes, I am.
So tell everyone really what that really means.
So the turnaround movement is one that's been around for a while. My first experience with that was in my first year teaching in Chicago. I was a teacher under the Academy for Urban School Leadership, also known as AUSL, in which a failing school has an outside organization come in to assist in turning around the school apart from the district that it currently resides in. Specifically in Indianapolis, Charter Schools USA was tasked with turning around 3 schools. There was an existing school, 2 existing schools in Madonna, and there was manual. And we also have a school that was closed at the time, Thomas Carr Howe Community High School, which resides on the east side of Indianapolis. So for anyone who understands what the east side of Indianapolis means, it is not a place in which quality education necessarily has been a bastion of. Um, Many of our students are severely below grade level, severely below the poverty line. So a turnaround effort is needed because old ideas of how to educate students really have fallen flat in the community. So they're looking for outside people to come in, or people from within the community under the tutelage of outside resources to best provide opportunities to educate students. So specifically for Thomas Carr Howe Community High School, we're under contract with the State Board of Education with Indiana, and that allows us to have an opportunity to go in and be innovative and try different things. A couple of the initiatives that we have at Thomas Carr Howe Community High School that have been extremely effective this year is speaking like a scholar and working to make sure that all students and all teachers and all parents understand that, as you may know, Proverbs 18:21, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And we want all students to speak, and all teachers and all staff and all parents to speak positivity into our school in a place where negativity had reigned for a long time.
Wow, that's really impactful. Do you have assistant principals? How large is TC?
So TC Howe currently has 490 students. We're developing programs to increase our enrollment over the next couple of years through an academy model in which we will have CTE courses and CCR courses in partnership with our sister school that will expand our education catalog. We're also working to find ways to encourage other students from the city to come into our school based on extracurricular activities. We have one of the best JROTC programs in the entire state, and we also have a strong athletics program in which many of our students participate in.
That's awesome. How do you, because you've been to a few different places, and as a new principal going into a new place, as a principal going into a new location, culture is always major in building or establishing a positive culture, depending on what you walk in. Talk us through a little bit about how you assess the culture and then how you established it to what you felt it needed to be.
So I'm one of those strange people who believe that a school is a place of love. A school is a place where if love is not a huge factor in the plans and in all aspects of what goes into a school, no matter how well the education goes, no matter how well the pedagogy goes, no matter how well we analyze the data, those things will fall flat if people don't love being there and also love each other while they're there. So for me, we have certain programs that we've implemented, and they actually, my superintendent, Eric Lewis, he thought I was really crazy when I first talked about this, but every Monday we start with a school-wide meeting in which we put every single student in the auditorium right after they come in from breakfast. And on the first day of school, I stood before my students in the heart of the inner city, and I told them that I loved them. And I've told them that I've loved them every single day since that day, because I believe that when parents and when the bus drops off children, that you're now in our custody, and that we need to love you in the same manner that I would hope all of our parents love our students. Which means that if you make mistakes, we're still going to love you. Whether you do great, we're still going to love you. Whether you don't ace every test, we're still going to love you. And we're going to make sure that you are accountable in the same way that I would hold my own daughters accountable. But regardless of that, we're going to love you every step of the way. So I end every day on the announcements, and we say our PBIS motto, which is work hard, be great, realize excellence today, every day, failure is never final. And I tell them I love you, and I expect that 100% of you will be back here tomorrow ready to learn and be great. I also greet all of my students at the door. I touch every single student as they come in to make sure that they know I'm there for them and that I want them to be great today. I touch every single student at lunch as they go through the line to let them know that, hey, Mr. Knight's still here. If you need to talk to me, just being as visible to them as possible. And then I touch every single student at the end of the day as I wait outside for them. So that none of that is by accident. It's strategic because in a turnaround model, the first thing we have to implement is a culture of joy, that we're going to give of our students an opportunity to truly help rebuild the culture of the school in a manner in which, like I've been saying, and I've said it over again, everyone feels loved, everyone feels cared about, everyone feels safe. Thomas Carr Community High School hasn't always been that way, and we've worked really diligent to make that turnaround this year. And I think most people who have experienced our school and visited our school today are actually pleasantly surprised with the work we've done culturally in our building.
Awesome. I tell you, and especially because it's a high school, I love your strategic move for our high school students. I think that's awesome. And you are a trained peacemaker. Please tell us what that is.
So while I was in the city of Chicago, it was, I want to say maybe my last semester of graduate school, there was this show called, I think it was called Chicagoland, in which the principal of Finger High School had employed restorative practices within her school to help turn around her school. Finger has a rich history in which, students who came from the neighborhood that I came from before our charter school was originated as Chicago International Charter School. A boy was from our housing project where I was working for many years, was beaten to death outside of Finger High School. The video went viral and people knew about it. So when they were trying to rebuild the culture of the school, they encouraged restorative practices. Restorative practices, at its very essence, means that we are going to work to repair the harm that has been caused. Okay, so if you break it, you fix it. That goes with feelings, that goes with fighting, that goes with all different types of aspects. Now, let me be the first to tell you, I'm no hippie, okay? I'm not a person who believes that a restorative school is not a place where anyone ever gets suspended. I'm going to suspend you if you earned it. But what we will do is we will invite you back into the building when you come in. We still love you, and we're going to work to repair the harm so that we don't have those things happen again. So my training at that time was over a week span. My school culture and discipline coordinator, Mr. Marcel Kirk, we spent a week in a Buddhist temple learning about restorative practices. And we came out of it so strong. And in our first year, we reduced suspensions by 75%. Not because we suspended less, but because we had only about 50% of our kids that were repeat offenders, because we would invite the community into our school after suspensions. Parents, aunties, uncles of both sides usually have the restorative practices circle, get down to the root cause, tell our students that we love them, we care about them, we're not upset with you because of what you did, but we will do this again because we are responsible for you and we want to have a school of love and care and safety. So the result of that was less recidivism rate involving suspensions. Now, the truth is, most circles that I've done have involved adults because we have to fix ourselves before we can go to fix our students. And as a high school, as a principal, the drama of what it means to be in a school is outrageous. And a lot of times we have to repair the harm of that as well so that we can do what's best for our students. So that's how restorative practices has had a huge impact on what we do here. I actually ran a circle last Monday, not this past Monday, but the previous Monday for professional development, because we had to touch on some hot button topics. Everyone knows about the school shootings that have been happening across the country. And everyone also knows about the fact that we have to make sure that we protect all students. So regardless of race, sexual orientation, stuff like that. So we had a very heavy day of professional development and we ended with a circle. And what was a tense day ended with love and care and people really ready to get out there and do what's best for our students so we can run across that finish line.
Wow, absolutely. Here in Maryland, we actually just had one this morning. So it's really weighing heavy on everyone, educators, parents, students, the community. So I think that is so needed. And I'm glad to hear that you are pursuing just that. So I applaud you in that way, definitely.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And so, Mr. Knight, my space is working with novice leaders. And, I work with new assistant principals, new principals. And I'm always finding out how established leaders cultivate leadership in their building, be it teacher leaders or any administrators that you have under you. How do you develop their leadership?
So, as part of our not-for-profit organization, Noble Education Initiative, we participated in many professional developments this year, revolving around John Maxwell's The 5 Levels of Leadership. Everyone comes in at positional leadership. You got the job, right? But as you progress through the levels of leadership, relationship, production, you find yourself in a place in which you cannot truly be successful in a leader unless you begin to try to replicate yourself. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that my teachers and my leaders, my assistant principals, curriculum coordinators, I want to put them in the best position they can be successful. I have a rule in which if you can do 80% as good as me in a task, then I need to give it to you so I can allow you to grow and build your capacity. So I have 2 amazing assistant principals, Victoria Pittman and Lacey McKenzie, who are absolutely marvels within my building. I inherited them when I first came there, but I saw the brilliance in them almost immediately. So whenever I have a difficult conversation with someone, they're next to me. Whenever I have to go address a parent who's super upset with me for some reason, they're next to me. Whenever I need to talk about budgets and operational things, they're next to me because I am constantly coaching them and I'm also accepting their feedback back for me. I have an amazing teacher leadership team that I cultivate collaboration with. Collaboration is the bedrock of any successful school, and being able to have an amazing idea and trickle it down to everyone so that they have an idea of how they can do that as well. By going through all those actions, you build the capacity of the people around you and you make them trust you in a way in which now they can step up and they can take on the reins and do great things as well. Right now, we're planning for next year, and honestly, some of the best ideas I've ever heard have come from my team because I've trusted them with the capacity that's been built to be innovative in their own lane and do great things for our school.
Awesome. And we know as educational leaders that our stakeholders are a major component to the success of our school. How do you engage your parents and your community and involve them in the day-to-day operation of your school?
Well, I think we're still in the infant stages of that, but I think the biggest thing that we do is parents come in and I invite them in all the time. I'm never in a place where I don't have enough time to sit down and have a discussion with a parent because as I already discussed with the 5 levels of leadership, I'm at position with every parent until I sit down with them and I can give them a piece of myself through relationship building. We are at the highest number of parent volunteer hours in the history of our school this year, but that's still not to say that we are where we want to be. The other day, we had over 100 parents show up to our report card pickup, which is in a stark contrast from what it was when I was in the Oakdale Gardens Chicago Public Housing Authority, where we probably have about 80 to 85% of our students come. But it's still a huge jump from where they used to be. I think the main advice I'd give any leader who wants to engage the community is one word: food. If you feed them, they're going to come. So we always try to find a way to engage our parents with different aspects. And, with next year and us building up our fine arts program even more, I'm looking forward to having even more success trying to bring the community into us.
And how long have you been at TC Howe?
So I came in June. And actually, it's a really interesting story. I was driving back. I was driving down I-85. I'm sure you know what that is. So I'm driving 85, heading towards Charlotte because that's where I was based in. And I received a call from someone I'd known for many years. It was a 954 number, which is we're based out of Fort Lauderdale. And of course, my heart's beating like, oh my goodness, what is someone calling me from Fort Lauderdale for? And I was asked that what I thought about TC Howe. A friend of mine for many years had been principal of TC Howe, Tyler Small, and he's an amazing friend of mine, and he fought the good fight for many years for TC Howe, and I respect him so much for it because now I'm in his shoes and I know how hard it is to be successful in a turnaround model. But I was informed that he wouldn't be there, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you come down and just check us out?" Because I think I was in a superintendent position prior to coming to Howe. I had a core of principals that I was mentoring, that I loved. I was close to my daughter, but my heart, at its very core, is with our students. I knew the struggles of TC Howe, and I knew that I had a certain level of expertise that could probably be of great help to the school. So when given the opportunity to come and see the school, and honestly, in June, I go in and I meet the people, and we're talking, we're negotiating, and I walk into the gymnasium, and I'm just in awe. It was just the most beautiful place I'd ever been in my life, and pretty much from that day, that second forward, I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going back to North Carolina.
I love that. Oh my goodness. And so with that, the follow-up question with that is, we know that Jim Collins in Good to Great talks about getting the right people on the bus and getting them in the right positions. As a fairly new principal to your school, and I'm sure that if you have not had a lot of opportunity to hire, that it will come. Naturally, that's what happens. What are some of the things that you do to really impact the quality of human resources coming into your building?
So there's one type of person that I look to hire, because most people who are interested in teaching at a school like TC Howe, not probably going to have a whole lot of experience. I'm not going to grill you about pedagogy. I'm not going to grill you about culture, because you can probably do things the way I tell you to do it. I look for two things. I look for one, intelligence. I want smart people around me. I want people who are of an intelligent mind, regardless of race, creed, gender, sexual orientation. I want someone who is smart. I want someone who is strong mentally. And the second thing I look for is grit. I need to know you failed before, because you're going to fail here. You're going to fail in our school. You're going to have to brush yourself off, get back up, dry those tears, and get back at it the next day. I look at myself as a coach before anything else. I take more pride in taking someone who is gritty, smart, and taking them to the next level and going on that journey together. I don't take pride in going out and finding the absolute best teachers, because I have confidence in my team and our coaching ability to take someone who has the intelligence, who has the grit, to put them in a position to fail, grow, be successful. And that's where I've had my greatest coaching experience. So specifically, especially when I first became a principal, we at CICS Lloyd Bond, we had about maybe 8 new teachers that year. Brand new, milk behind the ears, just new teachers. And there were many, many, many days where I would go into their classrooms and we would just have conversations about, like, this is the things you need to do. I put the books in their hand that they needed, like Teach Like a Champion from Greg, from Lamov, and we would model different things. I am a teacher before I am anything else. I have a class I teach now. I taught success classes last semester. And I am the first person who will volunteer and say, hey, I'm going into your classroom and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this on the ground level. So my pride comes in the fact that I have coached so many teachers into eventually going into leadership roles, even in my short time as an administrator. I have teachers who are now lead teachers. I have teachers who are assistant principals. And I think that is where the true hallmark of what real success is. It's not about being great in the moment, but how do you mold people so they become great and have lasting success, whether they're with you now or moving forward?
I love that. Oh my goodness. And the question that I always ask everyone, this is Leadership Matters. So
Okay.
why, in your opinion, does leadership matter?
Why does leadership matters? I think if you look at I think there was a book I read by Todd Whitaker some years ago, in which he talked about what great principals do. If you look at the statistics of a school, the biggest factor on the success of a school is the level of capacity of the leader who's actually running it. It starts at the top. 100% it starts at the top, and it's going to make sure that the person who is at the top has an understanding, has an empathy for all the stakeholders involved, has the intelligence to be able to be innovative with the design of what the academics and the culture of the school needs to be. A person who lacks capacity with leadership can be coached to be better, but it's probably the bedrock of exactly what you need to be before you can even talk about whether you're going to be a principal of a school or a CEO of a company. You have to be able to be that person. And I want to be clear. I am a person who walks into buildings and I want to inspire people to be great. I want to inspire people to be great. I want to inspire people to be go further than they could ever have gone before. Now that's something that I know that works. There's people who are inspiring, who just have lots of amazing systems that just keeps people in the right lane. So there's different types of leadership, but whatever it is, you got to be great at it. Because if you're not great at leadership, your organization is just not going to be able to keep above water long enough for any real impact to happen. And that's how organizations fail.
Okay. And what would be a final message to novice principals as well as aspiring principals?
Um, I think seeking professional development is really important. I think having mentors is important. You know, I still talk to my mentors on a regular basis. I'd love to shout out, you know, my first real principal mentor, Mr. Michael Campbell. He's about to enter retirement soon. Troy LaRaviere, he's an assistant superintendent in the city of Philadelphia. These were people who inspired me to be great. I even want to give a shout out to Dr. Linda Mark, who probably didn't love me too much when I was actually her assistant principal, but inspired me in different ways. Um, Find mentors who you can bounce ideas off of. I think the other thing I would say is make sure that you find a way to build a team and have a real collaborative model with the way that you move through your building. I've never seen a successful principal who sat in their office all day, ever. You know, I take at least 3 laps a day. I walk through the building. I step in the classrooms. I just stand there. I look at kids. I meet eyes. I touch every kid 3 times a day. I give speeches to inspire my students. I tell them I love them every single day. And it's not; these are not things. These are things that are strategic, but these are all things that were genuine. I think my inspiration through education is simple. You know, I'm caring for my dying mother right now. She has brain cancer, and that's why I'm actually home right now in Virginia. But what I would get my inspiration comes from the fact that I lost both of my birth parents very young, and I know how hard it is for our students who have single parent families or have a family situation that's not ideal. And as educators, you know, we're not in here to get the bucks, but you know, I mean, money's nice, but we're not here to get the bucks. We're here because we want to create a world in which all education is equitable, that all students feel loved, all students feel cared for, and if any novice or experienced principal has those cornerstones in mind, then I know that they'll find success.
I tell you, thank you so much. And where can our educators follow you professionally?
Oh, here we go. All right. On Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at and the actually the CEO of our company gave me this nickname at Lloyd the Outlier. So at LLOYDTHEOUTLIER. You can follow me there on Instagram and Twitter. I'm very active on social media. Um, I write, I blog on LinkedIn and Medium under the name Lloyd Knight, and I'm actually writing a book now. So
Awesome.
we're gonna detail this turnaround. This is how we did it. It should be done writing by the summer, but we'll also, and it's going to be a narrative book that's also has jewels of leadership like we've discussed here today.
Awesome.
And I'm on Facebook, but I ain't got a page there, but maybe I should start one after this, huh?
Well, awesome. When you get your book, you're going to have to get a page then.
Sharon, I just want to tell you, man, I appreciate you so much for having me on your show. Rude to the Q's.
Yes.
We're always going to be in here. Thank you for all the Coleman love here today.
Yes, absolutely.
So and just thank you for just being a light out here for those who are into leadership and self-care and health. You're inspiring everyone, and I truly appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. You have been such an awesome guest. I really appreciate you. I thank you, and I wish you continued success in all that you do, and prayers and blessings as you care for your mother as well. And so I just want to thank you for taking the time, and you definitely have to come back when you release your book.
I released the book. It's on. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you guys, those of you who joined us live and those of you who will come and catch the replay. We really appreciate you. This is Dr. Sharon reminding you that leadership matters.